Welcome to Lead with Clarity. This is a space for leaders who want to grow without losing themselves in the process. Each episode is a short reflection on leadership, influence, and the inner work that shapes how we show up for others. It's not hype, not noise, just clear thinking for the journey of leading well. Today's episode is entitled The Knowing-Doing Gap: Why Applied Knowledge is the Only Kind That Leads. Here we go. There's a question I ask leaders early in any engagement. It sounds almost too simple to be useful, but the answers are always revealing. I ask, what do you know that you're not yet doing? Sit with that for a second. What do you know that you're not yet doing? Every leader I've ever worked with has a list, a long one. Things they've learned from books, from mentors, from failed initiatives, from watching someone else get it right. And yet the knowing hasn't moved into doing. The insight is there. The behavior hasn't changed. That gap right there is where leadership either grows or stalls. Dale Carnegie put it plainly when he said, "Knowledge isn't power until it's applied." Simple, almost obvious. And yet most organizational cultures quietly reward the wrong half of that equation. They reward the knowing. Think about how we typically celebrate learning inside our organizations. We celebrate certifications. We celebrate course completions. We celebrate the retreat that produced great ideas. We put the framework on the whiteboard and call it progress. But if nothing changes on the floor, in the meetings, in the decisions being made, then nothing actually changed. The retreat was a good conversation. That's all. I've seen talented leaders carry extraordinary insight into every room and still underperform. Not because they didn't know enough, but because they never quite made the leap from knowing into doing. The insight stayed at the level of identity. I'm someone who knows this, but not yet someone who does it. The common misread here is thinking that Carnegie was saying that learning doesn't matter. That's not it at all. Carnegie was one of the greatest advocates for self-development. He understood the value of study. What he was pointing at was the incompleteness of knowledge that never moves. We've also mistakenly elevated credentialing above capability. We built systems that reward the acquisition of knowledge, the degree, the certification, the title, and assumed the application would follow naturally. It doesn't always do that. Application is its own discipline. Here's the reframe I want to offer. Applied knowledge is the only kind of knowledge that leads. Everything else is potential, unrealized potential. And unrealized potential doesn't build organizations. It does not develop teams. It doesn't create results. The leaders who grow fastest aren't always the ones who learn the most. They're the ones who close the loop the fastest. Learn something, try it, adjust it, make it theirs. That cycle, repeated consistently, is how wisdom is actually built. There's also something worth naming about courage here. Applying knowledge requires risk. You have to be willing to be imperfect in your execution. You have to take the idea off the whiteboard and into the real world where it gets messy and complicated and human. That takes courage. Staying in quote-unquote "I know this" mode is safe. Acting on it is not. So here's what I'd invite you to sit with this week. Pick one thing you know that you are not yet consistently doing. Just one. Not a list. One. Ask yourself what it would look like to actually implement it in the next 30 days. Not in theory. In your specific context, with your specific team, given the specific challenges in front of you right now. Knowledge becomes power the moment it makes contact with reality, not before that time. Carnegie gave us a short sentence and a long challenge. The truth is, we're never done with the work of application. Every new level of leadership brings new knowledge that needs to be tested and lived, not just understood. The most dangerous place a leader can live is in the comfort of knowing without the discipline of doing, because in that space, they feel like they're growing, and growth requires more than that feeling. Know well, act deliberately, and let the gap between the two be as small as possible. That is where leadership actually lives.